gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to another episode of Nass the Pod, Season 5. Your one and only host, Nass. Jam-packed NBA opening week. I know this is supposed to be a second of two-part NBA preview, but there's just been so much going on, so I'm going to include some of the trending storylines. To finish off my rookie watch, I didn't get to start off with Mr. Ace Bailey, though I did mention his name before I introduced the other rookies because, he was it was an interesting draft pathway for him. He put up really big numbers for a very inferior, talented Rutgers team. Pre-draft process comes around. There's some trending, weird stuff going on with his agency or who his representation was. And I guess that basically scared scouts away. I don't know. This guy was supposed to be like a consensus, like top 2, top 3 pick going into his freshman season. Like I said, had a really good year for a Rutgers team, even though you can kind of look at the offensive ecosystem. It was really, for them to win games, like Dylan Harper and Ace Bailey had to be ball dominant, sort of say. And with the NIL nowadays, Rutgers hasn't been this prominent basketball powerhouse in the 21st century, as we know. But that's why it was a big deal for those two McDonald's All-American guys in Harper and Bailey to kind of put, Rutgers on the map. And, I like seeing that. I like seeing, these 4-star, 5-star, guys, whether it's location close to home or maybe a non-Power 5, basketball team, and they go there trying to kind of uplift the program. But, I guess you could say, Ace definitely, obviously, who wouldn't want to go number one? You obviously think you're that confident in your ability that you're the best player in the class. And for him, he could have gone anywhere else. He could have probably gone to like a Kansas or a Duke or a UCLA or North Carolina or Michigan State or any of these, big storied powerhouse schools that have, made consecutive, Final Four runs and deep runs in March and just those big name, powerhouse programs. And he didn't. He chose to go to Rutgers, team up with Dylan Harper, and he still played very well. But I think he kind of caught the narrative that he's kind of a shot chucker. But that was a reflection of what the Rutgers, team needed from him and Dylan. They just needed them to really be like star players necessarily. Gets taken by the Utah Jazz. Mr. Danny Ainge, obviously, me being a Boston Celtics fan, I've gone to, really, from afar, I've gotten to really witness and honestly get to a very high respectful level for Danny Ainge and how he runs the Boston Celtics. And I'm not gonna lie, there's been some moves that have been kind of cutthroat, like for example the IT move, just broke his hip, played his ass off in the playoffs, lost his sister, and then we flip him for Kyrie, in situations like that. But it's a business at the end of the day, and I have the utmost respect for Danny Ainge and what he does from season to season, and what he's done in Utah is honestly pretty damn remarkable. I didn't actually see this coming. This wasn't like on my bingo card or was something I was thinking about in the offseason when it comes to who the Utah Jazz were as a team. Obviously, I knew they had some competent pieces. Lauri Markkanen, who's been thrown in trade rumors over the course of the past 3 years. They have 2 talented guards, Keontae George, Isaiah Collier. They've really gone big with Flipkowski. Obviously, Kevin Love is kind of at the twilight of his career, but Kevin Love, who else am I forgetting? Kessler Nurkic. The Jazz have gone really, really, really big. Bryce Sensabaugh, he's been a really bright spot for them. I'm pretty sure he averaged like 20 points in the preseason on like 70% true shooting. I know it's the preseason, but when you're a rebuilding team like Utah, you like to see that from certain prospects. They just smacked the Clippers badly by, I think, got to be like a 25 point plus margin, I think. And I went back and I rewatched that game yesterday during the day, and my biggest takeaway was, they're really, really not just big, but they play big. Like their bigs play big, and they're physical and they rebound. Like they're starting Lauri Markkanen at the 3. And on, I'd say 80% of the NBA teams in the league right now, they probably have him at the 5, stretching the floor, because that's just what, the league is now. But yeah, back to Ace Bailey. Ace Bailey, I like where he fits in this Utah core. Regardless on what side you're on, whether it comes to moving off Lloyd Markkinen. I don't know if Utah how serious they are, but he's really been like one of the well-known names the past couple years in terms of trade rumors. And we already know Danny Ainge didn't get a nickname Trader Danny for any reason. He's always thinking about the next move, always doing his best to at least maximize, maybe not like the team's timeline this year, but the team's timeline in 5 years or 10 years. Hence how we got Tatum and Brown. We only got those picks because we moved off of KG and Pierce right before it was, kind of retirement time for them. Like the last 2-3 years of their careers, they got to, bounce around a little bit. But yeah, Danny Ainge, Ace Bailey being this talented scoring machine from all three levels, being able to get to the basket. He's already showed some flashes in the open floor. Ace Bailey averaged 22.5 points in his first 2 preseason games, and it only took 28 dribbles to take 29 shots. So if you've ever been on the court, you understand maximizing your possessions, just understanding the spacing, and that's kind of impressive for a guy that's he's still a teenager. He can even buy a legal drink, so for him to understand spacing and getting acclimated to not just the pace, but how to get to his spots, knowing his strengths on the floor. Because some guys, it's really not it's not surprising if you have a young rookie guy, one and done, comes into the league and his first game he goes maybe 2 for 10 or 3 for 9 or, has underwhelming shooting performances. There's been a long list of rookies that have ended up even being Hall of Famers that have had rough starts. So for Ace Bailey to not just, showcase what he can do in the summer league, but then follow that up and showcase that he might be ready for actual NBA burn. He's ready to be a rotation player right now. That really spoke volumes to me. Utah just being big, dominating the glass. The way they were just it looked like the Clippers were kind of half asleep. They just weren't ready to play that basketball game. So yeah, Ace Bailey, if he just continues to, a little similar like Brandon Miller, a guy who's just going to continue to, sharpen his game, polish his scoring prowess from all three levels. This guy's kind of the limit for him, to be honest with you. And with the timeline next to guys like Keontae George and Isaiah Collier, I'm pretty sure he broke John Stockton's rookie assist record. He's dealing with a hamstring right now. He's supposed to be back in a week. Keontae George, last night I watched him, he was arguably I want to say he was the most impressive guy on the floor. 16 points, 9 assists. He had a halftime floater to beat the buzzer. He was just in so much command of the offense, and that was something that we've seen flashes from him, last year and the year before. Obviously, him coming in his rookie year and kind of being handed the keys, kind of being allowed that freedom. Then Utah takes Collier a year later, and now it's okay, you got to make it work with another guy who basically needs the ball just like you do. They basically play the same position. So with Isaiah Collier being out and Keontae being able to play that high of a level to start the year against a really well-known defensive team, the Clippers. The Clippers last season were one of the best defensive units in the league. So yeah, Utah, I think they're going to be really fun. Collier's going to come back. I don't know. It's just a weird team. I like their pieces. And yeah, I think Ace Bailey has a chance to be, if not the best scorer in his class, cough, cough, Trey Johnson. I think he definitely has. That's his ceiling, is an NBA All-Star scorer. And he can offer a lot more. He actually is a pretty damn good rim protector. His bunnies, I think, are kind of underrated. He can really get up there. He just plays very ferocious when he wants to attack the rim. That's the one difference between him and other young three-level scorers that I've seen. So, yeah, Utah, that's on my radar. I honestly, I can't, and I know I mentioned him in part 1, but VJ Edgecombe, I tip my hat to you. The way you came into TD Garden and basically looked like 2007 Dwayne Wade crossed with Jimmy Butler was just kind of crazy. His shot mechanics kind of looks like Ant Edwards, but the funny thing is I didn't expect him to look like Ant Edwards in the game. He had to have been the second or third best player in the entire game from both teams, and that includes Jaylen Brown. Jaylen actually played a pretty well-rounded game, kind of taking on that role. I don't want to say Tatum's role, but more so of that ball dominating, ball responsibility, possession to possession, all-star guy. He's been able to do that, but he's been able to do that next to Tatum. So obviously there's going to be some adjustments for him in terms of the coverages he's going to see, the attention he gets. But obviously Maxey dropping 40 and then Edgecombe coming in and dropping 34, like you're tying Wilt's rookie record. Like that's not nothing. I mean, I knew he'd be ready athletically. I did not think he was that sharp in terms of being polished from all three levels. I did not think his shot was there all the way, like the way he displayed it that night against the Seas on the road. And I was just really impressed. I think he's clearly ready. And they got Jared McCain that's supposed to be coming back at some point. I don't know how they're gonna juggle everything, but the big W for the Sixers is even though they're paying Embiid and PG all this unnecessary money, at least now they have some light at the end of the tunnel. They have something they can look forward to. You have two guards. I mean, you have three really with McCain. McCain was a Rookie of the Year candidate last year, but you have these three guys. You can kind of figure out how to stagger them in terms of ball possession, and then like I said in part one, I think PG this helps PG a lot because this alleviates him of even though he's being paid like a top 10 player in the world, he doesn't have to be a top 10 player in the world. He can, kind of be the top 50 player in the world. He can sit back and kind of fill the gaps, be a secondary scorer, passer, help defender, shooter, really good spot up shooter still. So if his knees and his shoulders and everything can get right, then I don't know. I think the Sixers are going to be a competent East team. Like even though Embiid, it's going to take a while. I'm not sure where he's going to be physically, let's say by January. But if we know Embiid to being Embiid, even if 50% of the MVP version of Embiid, that next to PG, next to Edgecombe, next to Maxey, next to McCain, next to Oubre, the team makes sense. They might not be a top 4, top 5 East team, but that might be a team that you don't want to see as like a 3 seed if they sneak in at 6. Or that's not a team you'd want to face in the first round. Like if I was the Knicks and I get the 1 seed, or if I'm Milwaukee and I get the 2 seed, and the Sixers are kind of lurking, PG and Embiid are missing games, but somehow they piece together by the time the playoffs come by. That's not a team I'd want to deal with. That's just a team that makes a series longer than it's supposed to be. One of those annoying So, and the Sixers batted the Knicks well. I believe it was 2 years ago in the Eastern Conference semifinals. The 2023 Eastern Conference semifinals. I believe that series went 6 or 7. Might have been first round. I gotta fact check it. But yeah, Philly. I gotta double down what I was saying in part one because whatever Edgecombe was doing against the Celtics was absolutely insane. Shout out my boy Adrian. I'm gonna get into my NBA player pyramid at the end of this, but one little wrinkle that I think I should have gone back with my pyramid. I probably should have reassessed where I put Victor Wembanyama. Like I said, I'm going to get, into where I initially put him. But after what he did against the Mavericks, without De'Aaron Fox, with a second-year Stephon Castle, who's, I don't know how many games he started at point guard last year, but it definitely was minimal, especially with Chris Paul and then De'Aaron Fox coming over later on. I don't think he got enough proper burn as the lead orchestrator, lead guard for a team, especially with Wembanyama missing time at the end of the season. There's just been a lot of injury overlap over there, so he doesn't really have a lot of chemistry with Castle as the guy. It's been Paul, and then like I said, it's been Fox. So, and Castle played outstanding. I think he had like 22, 7, and 6, playing both ways, attacking the basket, using his mass to just kind of get to his spots, and his jumper's developing, and once that ticks up a notch, like his game is just going to open up a lot more. So Wemby looking like basically a top 5 player right now wasn't something I ruled out, but it's not something that I predicted. And in my pyramid, not to give a sneak peek, but with my pyramid, I like to factor playoff success, what heights you've reached in the playoffs, versus a guy that has probably put up numbers in the regular season. He's been hurt a little bit, like Wembanyama. We know his talent is through the roof, but it's not an NBA talent pyramid because otherwise he'd probably be at the top with like a Luka or Giannis. But in this scenario, this is just right now who are the top 30 guys in the league. And I think I had him penciled in, I want to say like 3rd or 4th row. I want to say probably the 4th row. I definitely had him behind guys like KD, had him behind guys like Brunson, behind guys like Kyrie, Devin Booker, Steph Curry. So I think now if it's just one game, but if you put up 40 and 15, He looks like a cross between KD, Hakeem, and Shaq. Like if all those three guys mixed together, that's what I see, Victor. And the thing with him is that his dribble is he was already a talented, ball handler for a guy at the position. But now you put him in the double post, you put him in the mid post, sorry, and even if you give him an entry pass, you can't double him because they have scoring and orchestrators all over the floor, shooters. And once Fox gets back, like the floor's gonna open up even more. But at the same time, he's too quick for your five. So it's like you might have to blitz because you know he's gonna go by your five. And even if you do blitz, he's already going to. I don't know if he's ready to make that pass like in a playoff setting because these were the same things that Jason Tatum had to deal with, Kevin Durant early on in his career, being able to make that skip pass from the mid post. Victor is 7'4" or whatever the hell he is. He's gonna be able to make that pass very easy. Obviously, this season is going to be the first season that he gets those proper reps. But him in the mid post is scary. He was yamming over everyone. I was shocked. That's another game I went back and watched yesterday because Cooper Flag versus Vic. Like I was really trying to see that. I was very excited. I've talked a lot about the Mavericks front court and obviously like their understated guard depth. But Vic just came in there and he just didn't give a damn at all. He just didn't give a damn. Cedric Coward. I believe he took 7 shots, didn't miss any, reached double figures, had 3 rebounds. I think he put up. Where's Cedric Coward? Cedric Coward. It's from Harvey Go. Late at night. And I'm calling girls to pick up on the phone. Late at night. I'll call it Keisha Cole. Rock and go. Hold up. Yeah, Cedric Howard in his first game had 14 points, 3 rebounds. He didn't miss a shot. He was running the floor, defending. I think he had a couple stocks. I brought up the Desmond Bane, factor from part 1. Cedric Coward, what is great about him is he loves to play defense. He loves to play defense. His shot is already like solid. Like you probably don't gotta make too many tweaks to it. He's already gonna get those 3-point reps, especially with Ja running the offense, Jaren taking up attention. Obviously, we got shooters like Santi Dom over there. So he has an opportunity to be an instant, competent, productive player for the Grizzlies this year. As you guys know, my ties to the Grizzlies are deep. You know what I mean? This is not, this ain't no regular thing. That's the fam over there in the West, man. I'm good at Memphis. Trust. You gotta call 12 and ask him. Is Nass good at Memphis? He'll be like, yeah, he's good. Trust. He's good. But Cedric Coward, the reason why I loved him as a fill-in for Desmond Bane is because last year it seems John Morant wasn't prioritized as a scorer, and now with Desmond Bane, all those shot attempts going to Orlando, more touches for Ja. You got Usulas who's going to obviously implement a 2-man game. We saw plenty of the pick and rolls in the Grizzlies win over who did the Grizzlies face first game? Over the Pelicans. I believe Ja had, I think at one point he had like 15 points, I want to say in like the second or early third, like right before half. He ended with like 35. He had to carry. But the reason why Cedric Coward can just kind of buy into his role as a defender, athletic guy, kind of like a Sean Marion. This athletic guy that's going to defend multiple positions, be able to shoot the 3 ball, get above the rim. He's a lot more elusive with the ball. His handle's a little bit more impressive than I was giving him credit for from the tape that I saw. But him with Jalen Wells, Jaren Jackson, those guys, like those 3 guys around Ja, like that's the formula. If anyone that watched Nass the Pod, on Instagram, I made a brief comparison to the way they've constructed the Memphis Grizzlies is a lot more comparable to the way the Sixers early on built their pieces around Iverson. 2001, when they made that finals run, it was Iverson taking a bunch of shots, which he was arguably the best shot maker during that period of time, basically unguardable. It was probably like a AI, Kobe, T-Mac. At that point in time, those were the 3 most lethal shot makers in the game. They had all these guys, Mutombo, Aaron McKee, Eric Snow, like they had all these guys surrounding Iverson to defend. Now, Ja, his game is not identically to Iverson's. Obviously, Iverson's a more polished jump shooter, scorer, all that. But Ja's, better at getting to the rim. They're just as athletic as each other. It's weird because AI is a hell of an athlete too, like a one-of-none athlete. Ja is too, but Ja is, I'd say he got maybe, I should say a little bit. He's got slightly more bunnies than AI. AI could throw down, but Ja's bunnies are kind of out of this world. But my point is that though their play styles are different, the formula, I agree with the formula that the Grizzlies are coming up with. You put defenders, you put a rim protector next to Ja. Trip Jackson, him being a three-point shooter as a 4/5, that is huge. Like that is like they have half the formula with Ja and Trip. Now you just gotta find these. You gotta fill the gaps. Fill gaps like Cedric Coward, Jalen Wells, who was an all-rookie team member last year. I dig the formula. I think Cedric Coward is gonna be. I think that's a hit. Honestly, I know I talked about it in part 1, but after just seeing some tape, it's pretty like it seems like he's already ready. And I hate to just use one game. I mean, these are way too early takeaways, but Cedric Coward, nah, he's got it. He's definitely got it. I didn't talk about Jeremiah Fears, even though I did talk about the New Orleans Pelicans. 17 points in his debut. You know, my mentor / hero, Bill Simmons, said that, I think he made a joke. He slighted him about, I think how many minutes he'll get. I think basically saying, like, he'll be lucky to play. I forget the exact joke, but basically this is me going at Bill Simmons. Listen, Bill, you gotta watch more tape, man. Jeremiah Fears, he's got that. He's a downhill demon, crafty dribble. He hit a layup against the Grizzlies where the clock was going down. I think it was a tipped pass, and he retreated to the backcourt to get it. He got it back. Ja was like on his hip. Ja over pursued it, tried to swing for it. Once he got it back, I think he did like a behind the back. He maneuvers in the lane, and it's funny. Jeremiah Fears doesn't look fast, but I know he's moving really fast because he didn't outrun Ja, but I don't know how to describe it. If you watch the game or seen the play, he got the ball back, did a dynamic move, went behind the back, got into the lane, and then he didn't Euro step, but he was dribbling. I believe he was dribbling with his right hand, and then he went up and he lofted with his left hand, but it wasn't like a finger roll. Like it was like he's going straight at the rim, and then a defender comes straight up at him, and then he like kind of jumps up and takes this like unorthodox layup with the left, and it just like banked straight in. Like it went just above the rim, hit the backboard, straight in. And I was like, that was a pretty damn interesting layup. Like it was like a jelly, but he didn't even like use the glass to sit it. Like he flung it, like he was going and he flung it, and then just kissed the glass and went in. I was like, I don't know. And I was already hit. I was already hit to Jeremiah Fears. Like he has some special stuff that he does around the rim. There's been some rumors that people called him Baby Kyrie, but I think they're just throwing that name out there because he's one of those guys that really uses every angle on the backboard to get a higher percentage look. So Jeremiah Fears, if this is something that's going to, be sustainable for the Pelicans throughout the season, if he's just going to be an all-rookie team guy, a guy that's going to go to the Rising Stars and, put up numbers off the bench for them during his, rotation time, I asked myself, does that make DeJounte Murray a little bit more expendable? I know, the market for him is probably not as hot, given maybe his contract, availability. I know he tore his Achilles. He's rumored to be coming back, I believe, in December, January. But now you already have Jordan Poole that you traded for. It looks like this Jeremiah Fears kid, he's going to be a hit. And you have DeJounte Murray, a starting guard in this league, coming back. So how's that all work out? Especially when you're trying to really implement point Zion, because with Brandon Ingram now being in Toronto, you're looking at it like, okay, we have now like some significant stretches where we can form rotations surrounding Zion and appoint him like, floor general Zion. Let him kind of wreak havoc for, 7 to 5 minutes. So I don't know. The Pelicans, like I said earlier, I really do like their roster. They have some pieces. I know they did lose to Memphis, but that was a shootout. I think they scored like 120 points. I think the final score was like 128 to like 122 or something high up like that. So yeah, that's Jeremiah Fears. I don't really want it. There's some Lonnie Love will help it. All right, next up. Speaking of Brandon Ingram and the Toronto Raptors, I am actually sort of a fan of, I won't say their whole entire roster because I'm not going to lie. I still have to get pretty hip to some of their bench pieces, but their main rotation of Scotty Barnes, Brandon Ingram, who you gave this bag to, RJ Barrett, who's been pretty good. He was really good last year. Very understated because the Raptors were bad, but he was pretty good. and then Emmanuel quickly. They battled injuries all year, but now we have enough game tape. We all know that Scottie Barnes is not this 3-level commanding point forward that we throw around. Anytime we see a guy over 6'8" that can handle, we say, oh, he's a point forward. Oh, not knowing how is he going to handle blitzes. Can he put guys in the right spots? Does he have good touch on his passes? Can he make that skip off the blitz, off the double team? There's all these attributes that you need to be able to have if you want to be called a point forward. Not saying Scottie isn't a talented, forward, but we know he's not a guy that you're going to build your offense completely around. He's more of a complementary offensive star piece. I think that's his ceiling. And it also allows him to play defense and be a good rebounder and a paint defender and an additional rim protector, because he kind of is their defense. I'm not gonna lie to you, he kind of is their defense. RJ is a pretty he's pretty like solid defender when he's focused on that. But with that being said, the reason why I bring Scottie Barnes up, acquiring Brandon Ingram, who I've gone on record, I feel like I'm sort of a Brandon Ingram defender. Him and Zion in New Orleans, it worked for a little bit. Obviously, you have the Zion injuries, but that little stretch of time when they had Lonzo Ball running the offense, that was when the Pelicans were at their best during the B.I. Zion era. Now, with B.I. in Toronto, now he gets, I don't want to say a ton of freedom, but he gets additional freedom to run the offense and get to his spots. And with a non-shooter like Zion, that can be tricky because the way B.I. wants to play, the level he wants to be at, this superstar level, the Brandon Ingram that we saw in the 2021 playoffs against the Suns, it's not, a coincidence that he was able to play at that high of a level because Zion wasn't on the floor, because the floor is shrinking. You know what I mean? So when you got a guy like Brandon Ingram who can command pick and rolls, get to the elbow, like, we all know how Brandon Ingram plays. Like, he plays a lot like Chris Paul, a lot like KD. He likes to get to his spots and just rise up and just take jumpers. And then obviously, like, inside and out of the pick and roll, he might throw some dynamic dribbles, give you some hesitations, get to the rim, try and get to the free throw line. I really do think he's an underrated talent in this league. I still don't think he's been maximized. I'm glad Toronto gave him the bag, but I'm interested to see him next to RJ Barrett, who has proven that he can be a solid secondary scorer. Not the most lethal shooter, but like I said, that's not a guy you're just giving the keys to for your offense saying, hey, RJ Barrett, go orchestrate a top 10 offense for me. That's just not his bag. I'm not saying that B.I. has more experience as that lead orchestrator. So I think his play style aligns with the guys they have next to him. Emmanuel quickly, who's a quick microwave guy, can shoot from distance. Scottie Barnes can fill the gaps, get high quality looks in the paint. And you look at it, that's your pick and roll partner, Scottie Barnes. Scottie Barnes can come off the pick and roll, and he can make that next skip pass to the corner, or he can, give an alley-oop to Jakob Poeltl. The starting five, I'll say more so, is what intrigues me. I just think the Raptors, they got a fun couple pieces, and they beat on an Atlanta team that I was bragging about in part one, another high-scoring affair. But the way I was talking about the front court in Atlanta with Jalen Johnson and Porzingis and Okongwu and all these guys, Ricochet, Toronto came into an Atlanta and they really did their thing. So that was another big takeaway that I saw. Golden State is a title contender. You guys remember last year the Golden State Warriors? I think during a 25-game stretch with Jimmy Butler, they went like 22-3. One of the best teams in the league to finish out the season, which was just remarkable because Jimmy got no time to practice with those guys, and being able to plug him in as this secondary playmaker, secondary scorer in crunch time, a guy that can get to the free throw line, defend a couple positions. I thought that was, it was a huge win. Regardless of what you think of Jimmy Butler and the way he exited Miami, Jimmy Butler's Jimmy Butler. Miami owes a lot of their post-LeBron era success to Jimmy Butler. Even when Dwayne Wade came back for those last couple years after his time as a Chicago Bull, he didn't hit those heights. He was a different player at that point, but he didn't hit those heights. Jimmy, what he's done for Miami, it's actually pretty insane. And the Heat were like the last team I expected to be like a rival of the Celtics during the early Brown and Tatum era. We've met them in the playoffs like, I don't know how many times. 3-4 times since those guys have been together. So Obviously went to the East Conference Finals with them the year that they made the finals and lost to LeBron and the Lakers. So I don't know, but I like what I'm seeing from Golden State. That game last night against Denver. Denver was in control the entire game. You got Aaron Gordon putting 50 points on the board. Jokic is being Jokic, triple double. Jamal Murray had a double double. Like they played a very well-rounded Denver Nuggets game. And then that guy number 30 just erupted, and that's another guy that I had on my slip. Shout out Steph, man. W Steph in the chat. W Steph Curry in the chat. I had Steph on my slip, and I had him for 20 and a half. 20 and a half points on the lay. I believe he had like 7 points at half or something crazy like that, and then he just erupted. And I think by the fourth, he had already eclipsed. I think he already had like 25. Went to overtime. He hit that insane shot against Jamal Murray off the pick. I know it's easier said than done, but we haven't yet figured out how to defend the Steph Curry handoff with Draymond. The fake pick and roll. I forget if it was a handoff or he dribbled. I think it was like a handoff, then he got the ball, then he dribbled, then he used the pick, and then he launched. You can't let Steph launch anywhere from the top of the key. Whether it's the right top of the key, left top of the key, or dead center top of the key. Can't let that man shoot, bro. Can't, man. I'm telling you, it's coming from a fan that has had to deal with a lot of pain, man. I've watched a lot of Steph Curry shots go in that I was not rooting for. So I know him very well. The dribble handoff, you either got to push and foul or do something. Hack a Shaq, hack a Draymond, I don't know. You can't let him keep getting away with this. But anyway, he was on my side, that night because I had him on the lay for 20 and a half. So shout out Steph. But yeah, Golden State, they look amazing. Them being able to bring back Kuminga for the amount of money that they did is probably the biggest W because honestly, he wants to be this star, and I respect Steve Kerr from this standpoint, a guy that has won a lot in his career, both coaching and playing. I guess him getting Kuminga to buy into that role, like, listen, man, like you could probably be this star after Dre leaves, after Steph leaves. You're going to be that guy, but right now we need you to be that Andre Iguodala. We need you to be that Sean Marion. We need you to be that, Marcus Smart, that glue guy on both sides of the floor. And Kuminga, it's not like they're saying he's not a talented guy. He's a very, very talented basketball player. Very, very talented. I mean, the guy started in the 2022 finals. He started at center or power forward. I think he started with Draymond. The guy was 18 years old. Like, Steve Kerr wouldn't just throw him in the fire if he didn't have the ability. The ability has never been the question. It's just been the rumblings about team chemistry and do the Dubs really want him or not. And it's kind of been kind of a headache for Golden State in the offseason because, as you know, they didn't really make too many moves. They weren't really that proactive. But I will say Golden State is a title contender as of right now. In a couple weeks, I'll drop my contender tier. It's another one of those fun NBA pyramids that I like to do. But Golden State is definitely up there. The pool is like Golden State, New York. I'll put Houston in that conversation, OKC. And then on the east side, yeah, it's really just the Knicks. The Knicks, I'm not going to say the Bucks because the Bucks they've been kind of up and down the postseason the past couple years, but definitely, the Golden State Warriors are in that pool in terms of title contention or teams that are ready to go to June. Yeah, they're definitely ready. So that was another thing that that struck my eye last night. Brandon Miller shot 7 of 19 from the floor last night in a Hornets win against the Brooklyn Nets. What struck my eye with him is early on he was looking to make the right read. He was looking to make the right play. He was looking to get guys involved. You could tell that he was making a considerable effort at, being that secondary floor raiser next to LaMelo Ball. Obviously, everyone knows he can score. Obviously, everyone knows he can shoot the ball, get to the rack. He's a very talented young scorer. But him being able to pick his spots, he was finding dump-offs. He had guys under the basket. I believe he had like 6 assists last night, 6 or 7 assists. That was a big deal for me because in Bama, we didn't see any of that tape. So him being able to lock in and show that he's ready to take that next step as a scorer, playmaker, offensive creator, that's going to be big time for the Hornets. People aren't too enthusiastic about where the Hornets are going this year, but when you talk about a guy in LaMelo Ball who we just want him to be on the court, we know what type of talent he is, a guy in Brandon Miller who's looking to take that leap, a guy like Miles Bridges that you can go to from time to time and consistently get you a bucket. Shout out RTB. Knuppel from Duke. He is supposed to be another one of these additive, like plug-in guys. That's another team kind of like the Raptors where like, okay, I can see something. I can see something with this. Trey Man, he's back, little microwave guy off the bench. I like some of their offensive pieces. Now the defensive end is a different story, but offensively, I like the hierarchy. I like their core. I like the different variations of players they have on offense, and they don't have to play this mellow-centric brand of basketball all the time, especially when you have guys like Brandon Miller and Miles Bridges. So I don't know how many games they're going to win, but that is something I definitely want to look out for is the Hornets offense, because we know Melo is one of those, Mike. He's one of those, superstar floor raising guys. He's going to be top 5, top 6 in assists season to season. Another offseason acquisition that caught my eye that I think is going to be big in terms of the landscape of the East is obviously Orlando Magic acquiring Desmond Bane for the lucrative, I think it was Cole Anthony and 4 first-round picks. Crazy deal, I understand. But sometimes for a necessity, you got to overpay for it. And in this case, they overpaid for the services of Desmond Bane. Desmond Bane is a very, very underrated scorer / playmaker. I mean, he's been next to Ja his entire career. When you look at shooting efficiencies, he's on a very, very short list of guys that shoot north of 45% from the floor, north of 40 from 3. He's a hell of a knockdown shooter, and he's honestly improved at his processing and his playmaking as he's been able to get additional reps with Ja being in and out of the lineup the past couple of years. I've been pretty impressed with Desmond Bane. Last year, he averaged 19.2 points, 6 rebounds, 5 dimes on 60% true shooting. He averaged .93 points per possession as the pick and roll ball handler, which was, amongst, I want to say, maybe like 5 to 10% of the league of players were at those heights. He had a 52.4 effective field goal percentage on pull-up jumpers last season, which was 6th in the NBA amongst guys that have taken 350 of those such shots. And he also posted a 2.18 assist to turnover ratio. Reunites with Tyus Jones, who's a former rotation guard that they played with in Memphis. He gets 2, not just scorers, but 2 multifaceted guys in Paolo Banchero and Franz Wagner. Orlando was I want to say, not just a bottom third. I think they were literally like bottom 3 in three-point shooting last year. Desmond Bane, a hell of a three-point shooter. The fly-by god. I think it's a beautiful fit. Great fit. They played, who did Orlando face the other night? They faced Miami at home, and I think they had a comeback victory. Desmond had some big moments. Obviously, you guys know Orlando likes to defend. They just got Jalen Suggs back. So the team is very well-rounded, a lot more balanced. Desmond Bane, I don't think he shot that well from the field, but I think he had like 23 points. He was making reads, making the right play, getting guys involved, simplifying the lives of Paolo Banchero and Franz Wagner. This was the same piece that the Celtics were looking for during, basically, I'll say the rise of Tatum and Brown. I don't want to say early on, because they had guys like Kyrie, Kemba, who aren't known for putting guys in the right place, even though they possess point guard qualities. But just the matter of fact that now Banchero and Franz Wagner can not only lean on a guy that can get them easier looks from possession to possession, but a guy that has all of the defenders' attention, even past the three-point line. With Desmond Bane's three-point prowess, him being able to be a crunch time guy, gets the free throw line, knock down shots, that's going to be big time for the Magic. I expect the Magic to be, I wouldn't put them up there with like New York and Cleveland, but they're hovering around that 3-4 range, because like I said, they love to defend already. They're already kind of a mother effer to play. But now you're throwing a guy like Desmond Bane, who has been he's one of the most deserving, like, in terms of, if you were to take all the NBA star guards in the league, and I know Desmond Bane isn't a star, but he's had star moments. Like, this guy put up 49 a couple years ago. I think that's his career high. Like, when his shot is going, like, he's one of those offensive players that if he gets it going, it takes a lot to stop him, especially with that shot. So if you get a guy like him and you maximize his touches, you maximize, his ceiling in that department of, floor raising, playmaking, getting guys involved, his passing, his vision. If you can get him, if he's been working on that in the offseason and you're giving him all these opportunities to really live up to that as a lead guard, who knows what his ceiling is looking like? You know what I mean? I don't know what his contract particularly is this very second, but I do want to say it's pretty fair. I don't think the Magic are like limited on pieces, but when you think about it, like they made that trade for Desmond Bane, like they're not going to need those pieces, like those 4 pieces, like those aren't assets that are going to help the Magic right now, and they have Paolo and Franz right now, so you might as well maximize it. So I was, very impressed with that acquisition, and the game tape looked even better. For those of you that follow Nass on Instagram, a couple days ago I dropped my annual NBA player pyramid. So I'm gonna walk through, some of the questionables. I'm just gonna go through each guy as to why I think they're there. So Shai Gilgeous, Finals MVP. It's kind of hard to, knock off the guy that won the regular season MVP and the Finals MVP, and his team finished first. Not just in the conference, they had the best record in the league, and he defends, doesn't turn the ball over. There's been this narrative about foul baiting. I think he's just mastered how to get the ref's whistle. He's mastered how it's supposed to look. He's mastered how to manipulate defenders into defending him a certain way and then flip-flopping it and drawing the contact. He's a master of it. James Harden was the poster boy of it. Now it's him. People don't like it, but you need to respect it. He's 35-5. He defends. Long arms. He can play passing lanes. He's great in transition. If the game slows down, he can get any type of shot he wants against any defender he wants. Kind of easy. I had him at top. Then, you go down the list. I have Jokic, Giannis to follow him, Tatum, Luka, Ant. I feel like those 5 players are, it's not in definite order, but that's just how I see it when you take into account resumes. I have all those guys together. Next row down, Steph, LeBron, KD, and Kawhi. These are 4 first ballots. Kind of guys from the same. They've kind of been the 4 guys of their generation. It felt right. They're all in the twilights of their careers, but they're still all producing at a high level. So I felt like I should still give them that respect that they still can reach those superstar and megastar heights, but availability, health, team construction, that has been, kind of the Achilles heel for some of them. I mean, a couple of them. Next row down, Devin Booker, Embiid, Anthony Davis, Kyrie, Brunson. So this one I dropped before opening night, but this is a little controversial. So Booker being high up there, I'm okay with that. Embiid and Davis, this is where it gets a little shaky. I probably should have knocked Embiid down a tick below, but I only put him there as like a soft spot because I didn't really know what to expect from him. When you keep it a buck, I mean, this guy was a perennial MVP finalist. I can't just not include him in the pyramid. I get it, he's still working his way back, but just because he had that MVP less than a couple years ago, I wanted to give him that respect. He did come back in the 2024. I mentioned it earlier. The series that Maxey went toe-to-toe with Brunson in the 2024 playoffs. Was it 2024? 2024, yeah. I believe that first round. He battled. Embiid was on one leg, and he was still like 34, 12, and 5, something crazy. His stat was crazy. Him and Maxey played out of their minds in that series. And honestly, that should never even been a series in the first place, if we're being honest. That Knicks Sixers first round series. That was a lot closer than it should have been. But yeah, Embiid played his ass off. So I wanted to give him some respect. I had him next to Embiid, I had Anthony Davis. Also a little controversial. A guy that hasn't had a lot of, on the floor tape since he's gone to Dallas. As soon as he got to Dallas, he got hurt. Now he's wearing goggles now for the rest of his career with the eye injury and stuff. Kyrie and Brunson, I think those are pretty well deserved. Kyrie, after Luka left, was basically a top 10, top 12 player in the league. If you disagree, you should go back and look at the tape because he was, and they were winning games. The Mavericks were like a 5 or 6 seed when he tore his ACL. He was playing really, really good hoop. Jalen Brunson. He's just been a playoff killer the past couple of years. Next row below them, I have John Morant, Victor Wembanyama, Cade Cunningham, Jaylen Brown, Donovan Mitchell, and J-Dub. I feel like that list is pretty respectable. If there were any guys that you could probably put a tick up, would probably be Victor Wembanyama because he's just insane on both ends of the floor. But I feel like Ja, Cade, Jalen, Donovan Mitchell, especially Donovan Mitchell and Jalen and J-Dub now, especially with what he did in the finals. I feel like that's all, one room guys that can impact the floor on both sides. Play make, shoot the ball. They can be your go-to scorer on certain nights, especially Mitchell. And then sometimes they can impact the game on other sides of the floor, like Brown and J-Dub. Cade Cunningham, it's still early for him. I wouldn't put him super high. I mean, he's reached the heights of guys like Booker, Kyrie, Brunson in the regular season. But the playoffs is a different story. I mean, those guys have had lengthier runs, so I feel like I just need to see Cade do it. If Cade can do it 1 or 2 seasons, it'll probably be up. And then Ja, same thing. He just, I feel like he's just as good as a guy like Brunson and Booker, but injuries have been kind of his Achilles heel too. He just can't stay on the floor. And then under them, the final row, I have Karl-Anthony Towns, Evan Mobley, James Harden, Paolo Banchero, Pascal Siakam, Jimmy Butler, and Trae Young. This list I thought was, pretty solid. I don't think there's really any. I mean, Jimmy Butler, he'd rise up a couple times. James Harden, if he goes on a certain stretch. Even Paolo Banchero, who's a guy that the Celtics couldn't even solve. So I'm not ruling out any risers from here. But really my big two, if I had anything I'd go back and switch, I'd probably put Victor up a little bit. Shout out to my boy Adrian again. Yeah, it'd probably be Victor up. I'd probably switch Victor and Anthony Davis. I feel like everyone else is kind of solid, given what they've done the past couple of years. I probably should have respected Jimmy Butler a little bit more. Yeah, it's tough. But that's why I love these pyramids, because it's not more so like this guy's definitely better than this guy. It's not this guy's more talented than this guy. You got to factor situations. You got to factor injuries. You got to factor what have they done in the postseason. What role do they play on their team? What have they done over the course of their career? Obviously, a guy like J-Dub, J-Dub had a better year than Devin Booker last year, right? Okay, cool. If their careers both ended right now, do you think Devin Booker has had the better career or J-Dub? And even though this isn't a legacy thing, but you do have to factor legacy. Like, I can't just throw out the window that Devin Booker made to the finals and averaged 27, but because he lost, he's just not in this conversation. And shout out to me because I used that analogy, because there were some tweets I saw last year of like J-Dub versus like Jaylen Brown versus like Devin Booker. And I'm just like, can he play into June? Now he's in those combos. Officially, J-Dub is in those combos, but we were seeing those combos last year. But yeah, like I said, with these NBA player pyramids, don't take it to heart. It's not a definite who's better than who. All these guys are like within inches of each other. Pause. You just have to, that's just kind of how I sum it up. I like to factor playoffs, situations, what role they play for their team, and what they've done over the course of their career. I feel like all those things kind of matter when we have conversations like this about who are the best 30 guys in the world. And this is really what it is. It's just an assessment of who the best 30 guys in the world are. And yeah, I guess I'll leave off on that. I feel like Steph, LeBron, KD, and Kawhi, I feel like all those guys, bearing no injury, they're going to be in similar spots over the course of their career. And Luka entering their primes. Obviously, Giannis and Embiid are really on like the back end of their like athletic prime, but their prime is still yet to even be reached. We're not even sure if we're there yet. And then obviously I have Shea at the top of the pyramid. So that's my NBA player pyramid. This is something I'm going to be updating periodically. Something I have fun with. These are just like daily conversations. Like, shout out to anyone that logged in on the live stream. Shout out to anyone that logged in on the YouTube edited version. The NBA player pyramid version wasn't included in the live stream. That is kind of my little surprise for those that are that want to watch longer. And yeah, man, shout out to everybody logged in on Nass Pod, man. Season 5, we're still going. The goal is to drop an episode every couple weeks. So I guess let's see how long I live up to that contract with myself. But yeah, man, I'm just glad my beautiful league is back in a great place. a lot of betting stuff going on with Chauncey Billups and Terry Rozier. I didn't get into all that because when I talk about stuff, I like to articulate with facts behind me, but we don't really have those details yet. There's rumor that this dude Chauncey Billups had X-ray tables, like for these illegal poker games, and they would give certain guys an advantage at seeing what their opposing hands are. It's just a bunch of crazy stuff. I'm not even a poker guy myself, but yeah, I've been to the Nino a couple times. Papa done brought home a couple dollars from the Nino a couple times. You feel me? You feel me? So yeah, shout out to everybody that popped in on season 5. Nass the Pod. Follow the Discord. Follow the link below. Nass the Pod is the Discord. Nass K2 on Twitch. Nass the Pod on IG. Nass the Pod on Twitter. Lock in. We got a long season to go. It's season 5. 5 of them things already. You heard? All right, man. Peace.